Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator.
Introducing Bark in the Belly Premium Dog Food. 100% of profits go to help dogs in need.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday to you on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart here on Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke behind the glass, keeping us on the air 5 days a week, live on YouTube, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio, and it's right here. Let's kick it off, shall we? Because today we've got like a fully loaded show for you. And the day I tell you it's not a fully loaded show is the day I give you permission to go watch somewhere else. Go listen to Sports Talk Radio if you want. But we're going to give you a full agenda-free, no BS on this Thursday that feels like a Friday, because I think I said happy Friday to you, because it just feels like that. It feels like that today. Today, we're talking about Patriots, Texans, of course. We've got that coming up on Sunday. We're going to have a great guest coming on the show, Boston Sports Talk legend, Dakota from Braintree, the caller turned host turned entrepreneur. He's going to give us his thoughts on Patriots, Texans, take a look at kind of the overall Boston Sports Talk scene, because that still interests me. clearly. And this new game he's got going, this new app, this new fantasy spin. It's really interesting. If you're into fantasy sports, you're into the new sports gambling, you don't want to clean out your wallet, here is the best option for you. We'll talk about that. Going to talk about the Red Sox finally signing a free agent, Ranger Suarez, on the team. And look, that's great. I love Ranger Suarez for this fit, for this rotation. But there's some other work they need to get done in order to make that successful. And tonight is the night for a Boston sports icon, the captain, number 33, Zdeno Chara. His number goes up into the TD Garden rafters tonight. I will be there, as I will be in Foxborough on Sunday. Man, I'm just covering all the bases here. That's what I'm trying to do, trying to bring you the best show. We'll give a little tribute to Zdeno Chara's career and some of the great, great things he accomplished for the Bruins and whether or not he's on the Bruins Mount Rushmore. All that and more coming up on this episode of the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart. Let's start with a little bit of Patriots Texans. Let's whet our appetite a little bit here. They're starting, the news is starting to spread. The talk is getting louder. And I'm not talking about the insiders. I'm not talking about the coaches or the players or the people that break down the film. The rumors and the talk is getting louder about this game from the meteorologists. We knew there was going to be some precipitation. We knew it was going to be kind of cold. But now there's a really strong possibility that there's a front coming through Foxborough and snow coming through Foxborough on Sunday afternoon between the hours of roughly 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. when the Patriots will be playing the Houston Texans. Now, I'm going to be there, like I said. I've got to schlep all the way to Foxborough. More importantly, I got to schlep all the way back from Foxborough in the dark. But I'm just going to say this. Let it snow. Let it snow. Let it snow. Bring it on, man. I want it to look like this in Foxborough on Sunday afternoon. Bring it the F on. I want to be in a snow globe, pissed drunk, with a bunch of other drunk townies watching an absolute rock fight of a football game. For two reasons. The first reason is that's playoff football right there. In the snow, in New England, in January. Like, that is what the F I'm talking about, man. That starts in, like, that's football. It doesn't get any better than that. All you lamos with your dome stadium and never get to do this, you are missing out on true men football. That's the first reason. The second reason is, of course, one of those lamo dome teams is coming up to Foxborough. Because right now, it's actually supposed to be better weather for the Texans than what they played in Pittsburgh. That game was right around 30 degrees. This one's going to hover in the 30s, but probably going to start the day with closer to 40. We need that as any bit of help the Patriots can get against this Texans defense. It is tough to bull rush and get after a passer when there's a bunch of snow out there. Very tough. It becomes more imperative to run the ball. And I think the Patriots, although they're going up against a scary good defense, have a better run game than the Texans do. You throw any kind of thing like that at CJ Stroud, that's bad for Houston. So give me the snow. Give me the snow, baby. I'm here for it. We're going to talk more about Patriots later and some more actual things going on in this game. But I do need to talk about the Red Sox for a second because they have finally done it. It feels like, for the first time in 86 years kind of thing. Can we clap it up for the Red Sox? Bravo. Bravo. Get the duck boats ready. The Red Sox have signed a free agent. The 30th team in MLB this year to sign a free agent. But it's a fairly big splash. Ranger Suarez to the Red Sox, 5 years, $130 million. Comp free agent, so you still had to give up a couple draft picks and $1 million. But you have got a true number 2 coming to this rotation, which is exactly what you needed. Ranger Suarez fills the hole you had in your rotation, and he fills it perfectly. And I do mean perfectly. You want to line up Garrett Crochet game 1, take the best left-handed hitters out of the other team's lineup, then put in Ranger Suarez. Game 2, in a playoff series, do the same thing. There is a lot to like about this. The first thing is, it's no deferred money on the contract. And I think this is a good deal. We'll get into why it's probably that low a number in a minute here. But with no deferred money, that tells me the Red Sox identified this as their biggest need, maybe even more so than Alex Bregman, which you can agree or disagree with. It's kind of splitting hairs. I think you probably needed a guy like Bregman more than a number 2 starter after Sonny Gray. But beside the point, they identified that's what we needed the most. And so when it came to Ranger Suarez, they said, forget about the money. I'm sure they've been kicking tires. As much as I critique the Red Sox, I'm sure they have been kicking tires on Joe Ryan, on Freddie Peralta, on, Tarek Skubal. I don't know about that. But I'm sure they've kicked some tires in the trade market here. They went out and got Sonny Gray. He was cheap. Ranger Suarez is cheap in terms of being the 3rd best pitcher on the market this year. He didn't get the money that King did, for example, or Cease did. But they went in and said, that's the money. That's the guy. That's the position. Go and spend the money. And now what you've got is a pretty damn good starting rotation. Okay. And this is your number 2 starter going into his age 30 season. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's coming off the best year of his career. He was almost a 5-WAR player last year, and he should have been in his 2nd straight All-Star game. But he got completely screwed by this Misarovsky or whatever his name is from Milwaukee. You pitched 2 games, and now he's an All-Star. And so Ranger Suarez kind of gets left out of that. But he is coming off a pretty good year. And he's still young enough. I know Red Sox don't like age 30 as a guy who's entering his age 30 season. But you see it, man. He's been as dependable as almost any pitcher in the National League. Back-to-back years of 12-8 records, if you're still looking at records. But an ERA plus over 100 every year as a starter. And was pretty effective out of the bullpen as well. Doesn't strike a ton of guys out, but he also doesn't walk guys. In all of his years as a starter, he has never had more than 4 walks per 9, which I know sounds like a high number. But that was a guy who was learning to become a bullpen guy and into a starter. He doesn't give up home runs. He doesn't put a lot of guys on base. He's not a huge strikeout guy, but that strikeout to walk was 4-1 last year, which is pretty damn good. That's where that's kind of the upper echelon kind of pitchers there as 4-1, and it was 3.5-1 the year before. So he's getting even more and more efficient. That said, there are some drawbacks. He's a guy who doesn't typically pitch a full season. He has never started more than 29 games in a season, but he's never started less than 20. So you got to be prepared for an IL stint for this guy. He's had an elbow injury. He's had a groin injury. He's had a couple of back injuries, which, don't love going into age 30. But if we say it about hitters, we got to say it about pitchers too. You can't just not sign guys who are 30 years old. They still have baseball to give here. So I really, really like this deal. That said, there's other work that the Red Sox need to do if this is your rotation and Ranger Suarez is your number 2 guy, which I think is the case, right? You're not really shuffling around here. But now the Red Sox have built in a pitching philosophy that the rest of their team cannot back up right now. And I mean literally cannot back up. Because with this addition of Ranger Suarez, the Red Sox now have 3 of the top 10 pitchers in Major League Baseball in terms of ground ball rate. In fact, they have 4 guys in the top 20 of ground ball rate. Ranger Suarez pitches to contact. He is not a heavy strikeout guy. He is a ground ball pitcher in every sense of the word. He's not a hard thrower. He's not a high-volume strikeout guy. He is a crafty lefty that can make hitters look silly when he strikes guys out, but mostly he's going to get a lot of weak contact. And that's really the same for every pitcher in this rotation. Crochet is a strikeout guy, power pitcher, who is in that top 10 for ground ball rate. So he gets a lot of ground balls. He's not just striking out 21 guys a game. In fact, no one's done that. So here's the thing. You need guys to back him up. Right now, your infield is a mess. Ranger Suarez had a higher FIP than he had ERA last year. Now, they were both pretty good. They were in the threes, but it means you need to have solid defense behind him for him to be at his best. Like, I know that sounds so basic, but like, you need a strong infield behind him to make Ranger Suarez a number 2 pitcher in your rotation. Just has to have it. And right now, the Red Sox do not have it. You know, Trevor Story, the last month of the season last year, was horrid at shortstop. Committed like 6 or 7 errors in the last month of the year. You just let your Gold Glove third baseman walk. So you're going to put Marcelo Maye there, who can't play a full season, and you still don't know exactly what's going on at second base, which is a standing headline of basically the last 10 years of Red Sox baseball. So I like the Ranger Suarez deal a lot, but there's a lot more that you still have to build around this. Like Nico Horner, his name's come up. It's a guy who's won 2 Gold Gloves in the last 3 seasons, almost a 6-WAR player last year for the Chicago Cubs. Like, you need someone like that. And you really got to figure out what your shortstop third base situation is. Because in reality, you know, Horner plays second. At this point in his career, Trevor Story should probably be playing second. And you don't have a guy like Marcelo Maye doesn't play 100 games. Hasn't yet. Right? At any level. So you've got to figure out what the future of your shortstop position is. You got to figure out what the present of your shortstop position is. And third base. But here's the thing I like the most about Ranger. Unlike the Texas Rangers most years, Ranger Suarez is nails in the playoffs. Like chips in the middle of the table. This guy rocks. 4-1, a 1.48 ERA in 42 innings. 42 innings. So we're not talking about a guy who's had 2 postseason starts. 44 strikeouts in 42 innings. He becomes a strikeout pitcher in the playoffs. He has the lowest postseason ERA of any active pitcher in Major League Baseball. Better than Skubal, better than Yamamoto, better than Garrett Cole, better than, you know, your playoff performers, your Nate Eovaldi's of the world. He's better than all of them. Literally. Best postseason ERA of any active starting pitcher. So, yep, he's going to miss a couple starts every year. He's never thrown more than 160 innings. Those are things you're going to have to overcome. But you have added a kind of playoff ace, a second ace to go behind Garrett Crochet, who gets a lot of weak contact, fulfilling, I guess, your pitching philosophy. Which again is so funny that they haven't been able to figure out their infield defense for like a decade. And yet clearly that is a philosophy for pitchers they develop, is pitch to weak contact, get ground balls. Easier said than done, I guess. But one of the other guys in the top 10 of ground ball rate was Quinn Priester, a guy they traded last year, you know? So it's a point of emphasis, but you've got to figure that out. This was clearly, you know, I think this was done with a Glock to a rib cage here of like, hey, get somebody in here because we totally effed up the other ones. But it's a good move. I think it's a good move. I think it's a good price, even with the injury concerns. People are talking about, oh, Philadelphia's so quick to let him go. Philly's got a lot of problems money-wise. I mean, they're fine. They'll be a good team, but like they're kind of up against it money-wise. Dave Dombrowski. So maybe take that with a bit of a grain of salt. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, live on YouTube, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. It's your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio right here on the Wicked Boston Show. When we come back, we're going to talk a little Patriots. We're going to talk a lot of Boston Sports Talk Radio because we have a Boston Sports Talk legend joining the show. My pal, your pal. You've heard him for a long time. Dakota from Braintree joins us next on the Wicked Boston Show.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Welcome to Market XLS, your all-in-one Excel solution for investors. Designed as an enterprise-grade platform, Market XLS caters to investment managers, secure and efficient investment management and research. Book your free demo.
What if you could clean clean? With bio-based formulas and deep cleaning enzymes. No dyes, phthalates, or mystery ingredients. Just powerful pods for your dishes and laundry. Now you can, with drops made clean, made to clean.
Back here, back with it. Wicked Boston Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. Your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Berg behind the glass, keeping us on the air live on YouTube every weekday, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Pats Texans this weekend, but first, kind of part of it, we've got to talk to a Boston Sports Talk legend. Long-time Boston sports personality, sometimes caller, sometimes host, jack of all trades, master of most. Dakota from Braintree joining the show. Dakota, man, appreciate you taking the time. How's everything?
I'm doing well, Cam. Good to talk to you.
Hey, great to have you here. I do want to get your insight on this Patriots-Texans game. We're going to talk some Boston sports talk. We're going to talk about Fantasy Spin, too, which I learned about on the Pete Souza show the other day. And I just think is so cool, and I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, let's get that on here, too. But first, one of the other things you talked about on the Pete Souza show, you had the Bury the Bears shirt.
I did.
Patriots still in it. Chicago hosting a game this weekend. Is it still somewhere just in case?
You know what? I'd have to go deep. I'd have to go deep in one of the boxes. That in the Squish the Fish, they're probably all in there. I think I had the lyrics to the Super Bowl Shuffle written down as well. I typed out on an old typewriter. I think I actually still can find the Super Bowl Shuffle that I typed out to the words. So that's how far I go back. So
this is deep. This is deep cuts here. That's big. I don't know how many people even remember Bury the Bears. Squish the Fish was obviously big because they won. It actually happened, and Bury the Bears just didn't quite click.
I don't know. You weren't around back then, right? You don't remember
No, not quite. Not quite.
I didn't think so. if for those that are old enough like myself to remember that playoff run, their special teams was huge. They came up, they used to kick the ball off and recover the fumble. They would cause fumbles on special teams in creating a short field. And this was their huge value add because their offense, was Tony Eason and Steve Grogan. They had two quarterbacks. Like you have two, you have none, right?
Right.
And Champagne Tony Eason who was, worse than Mac Jones in the pocket. And that's got to tell you something. If you want to know what Tony Eason was like in the pocket, he had happy feet like you would not believe. Champagne Tony Eason, who I remember being up in Rockport, Maine, on a trip with a girl that I met, became my girlfriend. A good story if you have time for it, that I met her in Portland, and then her family wanted to take a ride up to Rockport. We did, and then we're in some cafe, and a red Ferrari pulls up, and who gets out of it is Tony Eason. This was like during the summer, during the off season that we were up there. So goes back a while. This I haven't thought about that in a way. You just triggered my memory to go back into the Tony Eason days.
I love that because honestly, it is before my time, but like I'm a big sports history nut. The 85 Patriots are fascinating. Like the kind of adversity throughout the season, everyone kind of hated the SMU coach, whose name is escaping me, just died.
Ron Meyer, who had
Grogan
the Pony Express backfield in college, and it was Craig James, Reggie Dupard, and I can't think of who the other one was.
Eric Dickerson?
Was Dickerson? Was that part of the Pony Express? I don't know if there was this thing called the internet that we could figure out.
Try it out. Yeah, McElhaney was the quarterback. Lance McElhaney was the quarterback. I spent some time in Texas. You pick up on these things.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, so that goes way back, but
it's just I think about that team. It's so crazy. They win all the road games. They win in Oakland in that weird game where Oakland turns the ball over like 5 times. Grogan comes in the middle of the season. He's calling his own plays. It would have gone down as one of these iconic teams had they won the final game. But now they get lost in the lore because there's 6 teams that actually won from around here. So I think you lose it a little bit, which is too bad. No. But looking at this year, Dakota, we got Patriots Texans Sunday. Your thoughts on this game? Houston, scary defense, Drake Maye's biggest test. What do you think?
I loved how the Patriots played this past week and still found a way to muck it up and win. That's my biggest takeaway, right? Because if they came out and looked great, I'd be more concerned that they're not going to be able to duplicate that again. So I'm happy that they won ugly. Drake Maye had his worst half of football ever. Right? And I love the fact that Houston is coming off playing Pittsburgh, who coach is obviously fired, with an inept mobile quarterback. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not the mobile quarterback that he have. That the defensive lineman that everybody fears that Houston keeps talking about now has to face one of the most mobile and eyes downfield quarterback that they're going to face. So when I'm worried about, Will Campbell and Wilson on the left side, and they gave up a lot of pressure to Khalil Mack, etc., I just have a feeling that the Patriots are going to be able to mitigate that pass rush because Khalil Mack is not going to be able to go wide 7 yards. He's going to have to worry about getting too far upfield, right? Mm-hmm. And getting beyond Drake Maye and running down the field. So I think it's going to neutralize a lot of the upfield pass rush that Houston was able to accomplish last week against Pittsburgh. And then on the other side of it, I think the Smurf mentality, the Josh McDaniels offense is going to be so much better than it's the DK Metcalf show first, and then we'll fill in around DK Metcalf. Because if you're Houston going into that game, you take away Metcalf, you roll everybody else to Warren or whoever. You can't do that against Josh McDaniels. Diggs might have 8 targets, he might have 2. And if he doesn't, you have other guys stepping up. So if I'm the Houston defense, I'm super concerned about how do I have my super fast, great defense attack them. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots are super efficient, they control the line of scrimmage, and they run a lot, and I could be completely wrong, but I would run a lot of 2 running back sets with both Ramondre and Henderson and just set them out. Have one guy maybe in the help and chip. One guy goes up the sidelines. Like you can create, because that's going to create a lot of pressure on their front four, front five, however many are in the box for Houston to slow them down, because both of our running backs can catch the ball behind the line of scrimmage and down, and that's going to cause a lot of this speed to just like, hey, slow down. We got to keep people in front of us. So that aggressive defense of the Texans, I think, is going to be neutralized. I really do. And I'm glad that Drake Maye turned the ball over. He started making these same mistakes he did early in the season just to reset his mind.
Yep. Just get it out. Yeah.
Get that clock going, get it out of the way. And what we've seen from Drake Maye throughout the year, he is like a professional golfer. If he can't find the fairway after a few swings, he starts locking it in and everything's down the middle, right? Middle of the green. Yeah. So now he got that out of his way, make some easy throws, get Drake Maye in rhythm, and I think the Patriots are going to win this game easily. And last week, I did not think that they were going to beat I was concerned about the Chargers because it's Drake Maye's first playoff game. Wasn't sure how the defense was going to do against Herbert and that whole thing, but we obviously saw how that ended up. So last week I was concerned. This week I am less concerned. I think there's a really, especially with Nico Collins being out, that's going to put a lot of pressure on him. Well, so as long as Gonzalez is healthy and going to play, I don't think there's an issue with this game. And I think you're going to see, wow, this Patriots offense really get fine-tuned. Their defense is going against an inferior quarterback in CJ Stroud, who looks to like he has a deer in headlights sometime. And you can't have deer in headlights in the playoffs on the road. And I don't care about what he did in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh should have won that game. If they could just do one thing better, they would have won that game. And we would have had Pittsburgh here, which would have been even better.
It would have been awesome.
Yeah. So that's like my skinny take on the game. You know, I feel like this is going to be one that I'll be surprised if the Patriots lose this game.
I love that. So comfortable Patriots win. Is it still going to be a rock fight? Or do you expect, are they going to get 28 points out of this?
I think that the Patriots are going to abuse this Houston defense. I really do. Right. I think they're going to abuse it. If you look back, do you remember the boogeymen defense the Patriots had?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and especially like the first half of it.
They start off like 8-0.
Yeah.
And they didn't play many quarterbacks, right? They didn't. Look at Houston. Now, they did play Josh Allen, right? But when they went against San Francisco, they don't put that win and show you that it was Mac Jones, right? They've played some good teams, but without their main quarterback. And Daniel Jones, they played the Colts. Daniel Jones is still Daniel Jones. The guy, you know, like he was good this season beginning, but he's still Daniel Jones. So if you look at Houston as a whole, their defense grades so much better because of the quarterbacks in totality that they played, even though they did beat Buffalo and they held Josh Allen in no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So they can beat a good quarterback, but it's not like they've already destroyed every good quarterback that they played. And Mahomes, yes, they went in there and won. Mahomes doesn't have anybody. Like his offense is worse than that Brady, Rashad Caldwell receiving group that they had, that they almost beat Indianapolis with. So I'm not as afraid of the Houston defense. I think where they're really good, they obviously their defensive pass rush, and they've got 2 really good corners, right? But again, we don't have guys that control our offense. Drake Maye controls it. Yeah. So it neutralizes those 2 star cornerbacks that could take away, let's say if Pickens was still on Pittsburgh, right? One takes away Pickens, one takes away Metcalf, and then now where are they going to go? Our Patriots offense, like in the Brady years, doesn't revolve around one person. So those corners get neutralized. That's the way I look at this. So
yeah, Diggs could have 2 catches and they could win the game by a couple of scores. In fact, that's exactly what happened last week, right? I think he had 2 catches on 3 targets, maybe. So, like, it's a great point. Like, you all right, take away our top guy. They're all kind of there. It's like the year the Red Sox had 5 number ones, and none of them were number ones. That's kind of what it makes me think of. Let's talk about Boston sports talk, because better than almost anyone living, Dakota. Like you've seen it like from the beginning. Boston was obviously one of the first ones to really get into the sports talk radio scene. I kind of joke about it on this show, the lunchtime alternative. If you're just hoping to hear some regular stuff most of the time. I used to be a huge junkie. I have to pick and choose shows now. I just wanted to get your take on it because you've seen it at its best. You've seen it now. What is the state of Boston sports talk radio right now?
When the Patriots, it's funny that ever since 2003, 2004, the Patriots took over the dominance on sports radio. Once the Red Sox end up winning that World Series, it really reset the aggression, the attacking the umpire, not the umpire, but the manager, right? Mm-hmm. My whole life in the 90s and early 2000s was attacking every move that Grady Little did, right?
Jimmy Williams,
Butch Hobson. It was so easy to second guess these buffoon managers that it was the greatest sports radio topic, new content every day. There was something that you could take from the Red Sox game the night before and says, what the F is that manager thinking? Why would he leave up this lefty on lefty? Why would they leave the starter and after he gave up 3 line drives off the wall when he's got these 2 other guys like every day? But when they win the World Series, something changed and it just like said, you know what? I don't effing care anymore. I'm done complaining. And I'll say me complaining like the rest of the sports radio, callers that were there, whether they were one-off callers or they were the celebrity callers, let's call them, that would always call in and attack, whether it's the general manager, back in the days with Lou Gorman and all the way up. Right. So sports radio has definitely then crossed over more to a Patriots side of things after they won, but also after the Red Sox won, people more. And then that also kind of like lines up with the Sports Hub, Patriots radio station, that whole thing starting to take away audience from WEEI, which was more baseball centric, where they are the Red Sox rights, and BCN back, that's who the 98.5 Today, the Sports Hub, which was the old BCN, which had the Patriots on it, FM. So I think it's changed because of also the shift in the audience of the sports stations as well. I mean, they'll talk Patriots 365 on 98.5 on Felger and Maz all day. And then there's maybe a half-hour segment on the Red Sox. Like, that's it.
Like the 2010s, once July came around, mid-July, you might have talked the Red Sox for a month after the draft and after mini camp, and then training camps open, and it was over. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if the Red Sox were good, bad, entertaining, otherwise, didn't matter. It was Patriots.
And then I think the Celtics side of it, it's just, because you have so many legacy championships, it's a different vibe. It's a different, call. It's just a different second guess. Mm-hmm. It's more around trades. Can both Jays play together? That was the whole thing before. Can they do X and Y and all that? So, the Bruins, I don't know. I mean, I can be honest with you, and I know you're wearing a Bruins gear on right now. It is the best, before I trash hockey, it is the best playoff sport to attend out of all the major sports. You give me one option, I'll go to a Bruins playoff game. And I've gone to a lot, like the year they won it in 2011, was it? Yep. 11. I went to Game 7, Montreal. I was at Game 3, Toronto. Was that game home? Did they play Toronto in the second series of 11?
They played Philadelphia.
Yep.
Philadelphia.
And then Tampa. So I was at Philadelphia, went to a Philadelphia, and then was it Toronto or was it Tampa?
Tampa. Tampa in the conference finals, then Vancouver.
That's great. So Tampa, I was at the game where was it, like second period, they went crazy and not Sagan.
Yeah,
Sagan, right?
Sagan scored a couple of times.
It was the most incredible thing. And I was in section 314. I actually got the tickets for that game through the 98.5, the Sports Hub, because I used to advertise on the station. So it was, they were like, hey, we'll take care of you. We'll give you a couple tickets. So I actually sat in 314 on that game. And then, so to me, hockey by far the best sport to attend playoffs. Now, radio, listening to it, the most disastrous. I never click off sports radio, but if I hear someone talking about the Boston Bruins or hockey in general, I can't listen. There is nothing there for me.
Yeah, and like the other thing too is most of the hosts are like you in that way. Boston's a great hockey town, but it's not number one for almost anybody. So, and this used to happen a lot where I'd be like, why are these guys? I'm a huge Bruins fan, but I'd be like, why are these guys even talking about it? Like, I know they don't really care about it. It's okay. You don't have to, I can watch the Bruins at night. You know what I mean? And that's what it kind of was like for me, was like, I don't even want them to like that. They don't want to, Felger will talk about it every once in a while, but I'm just like, man, I don't need it if you guys aren't into it, talk about the Patriots, talk about Patriots draft.
It's forced. That's the problem.
Right.
And both stations do it. EEI and the Sports Hub, they both force hockey. Like Saturday morning, you're probably the only guy that listens to the hockey show on 98.5.
I do that sometimes. Yeah,
exactly.
On occasion. Yeah.
Right? Like, to me,
Open
it's
the
getting
window, double the audience.
It's getting a click all day. It's getting a click all day. I'd rather listen to Ken and Curtis on EEI on Saturday mornings and listen to the skate pod show. Okay. It's just, I just can't do it. I remember growing up and Eddie Edelman. I don't know if you remember the name Eddie Edelman.
Yeah.
And he used to make fun of the Bruins all the time. Just skate to the left. Like this, who knew, right? Like who knew? Yeah. But I was a big Bruins fan growing up. I mean, I was watching that game in Vancouver when Norman Levier ran into the boards and went down on the ice. I was a young kid and I felt like the world just ended because you saw that was like the first time you would see someone just down and out, stretch her off. And it traumatizes you at a young age. As a kid, nowadays you see Pacioretty get plexiglassed, right? And you're just happy because he's a dick, right?
Right. Yeah. He's alive and he's a dick. So it's all, that's where I stand with kind of like where all the sports, the sports are and stuff like that. But as for golf, every now and then, Keegan Bradley, when he comes on those shows, it's great to listen to golf. Like he can get deep into it because he's a local guy too. So. Yeah. Well, I'll throw you've gotten into sports in other ways too. Before we get you out of here, I gotta have you explain it again to the people, and that is Fantasy Spin. You're running it. We had Fourier on Pete's show the other day. You've gotten Fourier involved. Just explain to it like I'm 5. What Fantasy Spin is, how it's different from the things that a lot of people are already doing.
Sure. So if you're a sports bettor / daily fantasy player and like wagering, and if you think of traditional fantasy sports where you go on DraftKings or FanDuel, you create your roster, and then as those players perform on the field, on the court, you get fantasy points, and then it's like a poker payout, right? Top 10% of the field of all the entries get the prize pool, right? And then first place will get it. So what I wanted to do was gamify the industry. So I created an app called Fantasy Spin that combines virtual slots with daily fantasy. So every day you go on and you get X amount of spins and locks, and you have to fill up your roster by spinning the players. And then as they appear on the reel, you can then decide to lock in the ones that you want to keep. After you're done, you spin again, generate new players, and you get, let's say, 10 spins and 6 locks and have to create a roster of 8. And you can enter for as little as $1 in contests, 5, 10, 20, 50 or 100. But most of we cater to more of the smaller entry fees because it's really for casual. It's to have fun. Yeah. We wanted to gamify and make the experience of drafting your roster fun again. Can I say that? Yeah. Make drafting fun again. And that's what we did.
It's the next fantasy spin hat, I think. Maybe red. That'll stand out. Yeah, maybe that. And I do love that part you mentioned there too of oh, there we go. Here we go.
I think I just broke something.
Merched up though.
Oh my God. It was a coffee mug. Hold on.
Oh no. Oh no.
It was a coffee mug. This is how old I go back. I still have this. This is from 8:90 a.m. WBPS. Sports, the Boston Sound of Sports. I was on this show. Quick story to tell. How much time we got?
We got a couple more minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So back in 1996, I was running an offshore sports book. I was a sports book operator for a company called GamingWorld.com. And I got to manage it from Braintree. I didn't have to be in Aruba. We were bonded, licensed in Aruba. And they had me on the show to pitch about the props for the Super Bowl and what we had live. And the guy asked me, he's like, what's your favorite prop for this Green Bay Patriots game? And I said, I'm looking at Andre Rison to score the first touchdown. He's 15-1. And I said to him, I said, listen, Andre Rison earlier in that season already played against the Patriots. He knew how the secondary works and to find the seams. So I would definitely feel that Rison has something dialed up that they would run early in the game that would get Rison into the end zone. And it was the second play of the game, I think.
Yeah.
That Rison ran a skinny post and he took it to the house. And I think I had $100 on it. But I talked about it on the radios. I gave this out. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because I had no other action in the game. I didn't really like anything. But I was like, you know what? I think Green Bay was the favorite to score first in the game. And it was like a 2-1 favorite for a passing touchdown. So I'm like, okay, well, if the favorite's supposed to be a passing touchdown, I like Rison the best out of them all. That's what I'm going to do. And that was on WBPS. And I couldn't tell you who the host of that show was. But that's that thing. I still have it. So that Bury the Bears t-shirt might be around here somewhere.
I was gonna say, if this is still around, who knows, man? Who knows? That 96 Patriots. I mean, that's for a story for another day. But in case you did want to feel a little older, in case you wanted that, I was consummated during that season. So
the 86.
Yeah, I was born the next July. So
here's my Roger Clemens, Rich Gedman. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah. I
actually had it signed by both of them. I in high school, I took photography class. So, and I also worked for Harry M. Stevens as a hot dog vendor throughout Fenway Park. So during the playoffs, we basically flashed our HMS badge to get in the Fenway, but I just didn't put my name down on the worksheet. They didn't check that you checked in through the gate and that you worked. So I would just go into the playoff games and not work. And I'd have my camera and I was going right down behind home plate and I'm snapping pictures. And I have probably like 40 different pictures. The following year, and I'll tie the bow on this. Yeah. I'm out in right field before the game and Lee Smith comes over and I got to be friendly with a lot of the pitchers because we're there. The workers are there before the fans get in. And a lot of times during the game, Rick Cerrone, I'll even say this, when I was out in the bullpen with hot dogs, he'd get hungry. I'd be passing over hot dogs to the guys in the bullpen. So Lee Smith, I go, Lee, can you do me a favor? He goes, what's that? I gave him this vanilla envelope with all the 8.5 by 11 photos I took. And he goes, I go, can you sign yours? And I had a picture. And he goes, here. He goes, give me them. I'll be right back. He went into the dugout and got Jim Rice to sign it, Gedman, Clemens, all the people that I had pictures of. He got them all signed.
That's so
and
cool.
I was just like, as a junior in high school, I think I was just like, this is awesome. This was great.
Kicks ass.
So I still have some of the stuff kicking around. I think I even have the negative still because I have to, and when you take photography in high school, you have to take them and develop them.
Yeah.
So I used to put the things in the tray and mix the chemicals and all that stuff. So
this is some deep Boston lore that we have got here. Some deep Boston sports lore. I'm loving it. I'm here for it. But y'all, you got to check out Fantasy Spin. You've seen he's been merched out. You've seen the logo there. It's tough to miss. Dakota from Braintree. doing Fantasy Spin. Dakota, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. This was so much fun.
Awesome, Cam. Yeah, and if you guys download the app, I'm on X, Twitter, Dakota Spin. So I would love to know like what you feel, like what you think about the game. I'm always listening to user feedback. Anything we can do to improve it. Add me on X or add me on Instagram at Steve Dakota on Instagram as well. Dakota Spin on Twitter.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. And I can't wait to put in some plays this weekend. I cannot wait for it. So Dakota, one more time, thank you again, because I really appreciate you coming on and doing some Boston sports lore with us.
Thanks, Cam. This was fun.
There he goes. Dakota from Braintree, Fantasy Spin. It is so much fun. Like, I've been doing the whole sports gambling thing, and I can say it because they haven't been on with us in a couple of weeks here. I've done the DraftKings thing, but this way it's an easier barrier to entry, so to speak. You don't have to put as much money down. You can get some nice winnings. So definitely check that out, y'all. Check that out and let us know what you think in the comments below. How about an easy victory for the Patriots? I'd love that. Let's see some score predictions. Comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and find us here live on YouTube every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And then afterwards, wherever you get your podcasts as well. When we come back, let's put a bow on this thing, but let's talk about Zdeno Chara. Yeah, we're going to do some hockey talk. We're going to do some. But Zdeno Chara getting his number retired tonight. We're going to talk about kind of where he falls in the pantheon for the Boston Bruins and their 102-year history. That's coming up next on the Wicked Boston Show.
At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
But boy, it looked effortless.
Man, watch this.
Layups, floaters, threes. He was like an unsolvable equation.
I was born like this.
His resilience, his strength, his belief, adversity never stood a chance.
Know your power.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. us.muc-off.com.
The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. U-Like.
Back here on the Wicked Boston Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. Cam Stewart here, Zach Burke behind the glass. How about that from Dakota from Braintree, man? Like, talk about a guy who's just been in it for so long. Like, he was telling those stories, man. Like, that is Boston sports talk right there. That's a guy who has been a fan. He has seen it, from its very early beginnings. I guess beginnings are always very early. It's literally the beginning. From the beginnings of Boston Sports Talk Radio all the way up to now, like he was dynamite with that, man. I had a lot of fun with that. We could have gone on forever. He didn't even get to tell the story about how he made a Boston Sports Talk host quit. Just made him quit. Kept calling him out on his BS, and the guy finally quit. Ted Sarandis, for those who are of a certain vintage and remember that. That's kind of funny. I was kind of like, I'm not going to sit here and say like I was a kid of the 90s. Obviously, I really wasn't. I was born in the 90s. But my dad had EEI on all the time. And, my earliest days of sports were right before the Red Sox won the World Series. So EEI was still, Red Sox every day. Like he was talking about Grady Little, every move that Grady Little made was put under the microscope. So that was a ton of fun. And I hope he's right about the Patriots. Oh, shit. I hope he's right about the Patriots, and they're going to blow him out. I like his reasoning. I do. This Texans defense still scares the shit out of me, but there are ways to get after them that I think fall into the Patriots' hands a little bit. I'll be happy at a 14-0 or something. I'll be happy with that. But we got to close things out before we get going for the rest of the day. It is a big night. It is a big night in Bruins history. Zdeno Chara, the number 33, going to the rafters, retired forever, the captain of the 2011 Stanley Cup winning team, NHL Hockey Hall of Famer, and truly one of the all-time greats. I don't know if people appreciate just how much of an impact Zdeno Chara has on this great, illustrious franchise, the Boston Bruins. They'll probably know a little bit more after tonight because it's going to be a freaking 2-hour ceremony. It's going to be schmaltzy as holy hell. People will get a better idea. But we're talking about not just the greatest free agent signing in Bruins history. Zdeno Chara is the greatest free agent signing in the history of the National Hockey League. It's easy to forget now, for those of us who grew up with not just Chara, because that's the other thing. It wasn't just Chara, right? But Chara and Bergeron and Krejci and Rask and Thomas and Marchand and Lucic and all these guys that made up those great Bruins teams in the late aughts, early 2010s. And then the second wind of it, which Chara was there for, the late 2010s with still Bergeron and Marchand at the beginning of Pastrnak and all those guys. So it's easy to forget that before that era and after the NHL record of 29 straight playoff appearances, they were in the wilderness. Like the Bruins did not have much of an identity. And they go to the Fleet Center and you don't have the old Boston Garden anymore. And a couple of years later, you have to trade Ray Bourque because your rebuild has failed so far under Thornton and Samsonov and Kyle McLaren and these guys. And then you kind of give the keys to Joe Thornton and that fails. You make the playoffs one time or twice, I think, but 2004, they were the number 1 seed. They go out in the first round to Montreal. And there's a ton of soul searching going on for about 15 years with the Boston Bruins. And then Chara comes in and they are quite literally never the same again in a great way. He sets a new standard from day one. And if you want a guy who's going to come in and bring attitude and bring oomph, Zdeno Chara is that and was always that for the Boston Bruins. When you talk about the shutdown defenseman, intimidating defenseman of his era, you have to put Nicholas Lidstrom there because I don't know if people call him intimidating, but he is one of the 5 best defensemen of all time. You've got to put Pronger in there and you've got to put Chara in there. You have to. And I know we got some shit here in his time in Boston, like some unnecessary heat from Bruins fans at times. But he is a luxury that most teams in history have not had. And his story is unbelievable. No one thought he was going to be a hockey star. His dad was a wrestler. People wanted him to play basketball because he was so tall, 6'9", still the tallest guy in NHL history. And he was seen as this goof, this circus attraction. Mike Milbury drafts him in New York with the Islanders because he saw a VHS tape of him fighting guys. And Mike Milbury made a lot of bad decisions with the Islanders. This was not one of them. Of course, trading him to Ottawa for Alexa Yashin was a bad decision, but hey, it was great. Mike Milbury is the reason that he got to the NHL. And to me, he's right up there with the most important Bruins in history. Obviously, any Mount Rushmore has Bobby Orr. It has Ray Bourque. And then those next spots, you have to consider Zdeno Chara. In fact, we did this on the Garden Level Pod, which dropped this morning, Thursday morning. And Dan and I had 2 different ones. And I think you got to have Chara on there. You got to go way back probably for another one. I know a lot of people like Neely. Bergeron is someone who gets a shout. Eddie Shore won, I think, 4 Hart trophies as a defenseman. I know he played 100 years ago, but like he was one of the first great stars, not just for the Bruins, because he was the first great one for the Bruins, but for the NHL as well. Like he was Bobby Orr before Bobby Orr was. You've got to talk about Phil Esposito and the goal scoring records that he still has. You got to talk about Milt Schmidt, a guy who was the captain of the Bruins, won the Stanley Cup as a captain, led them to the Cup final as a coach, discovered Bobby Orr as a GM, won a couple cups as the GM of the Bruins. But Zdeno Chara, for a team that has over 100 years of history, is right there. A free agent signing. By the way, Red Sox, signed at age 30. Signed 9 years into his NHL career, I think. And an absolute monster. I mean, the records, right? Tallest player ever. 6'9", 250. How would you like to go up against that guy? By the way, he was 29. Sorry. He's 29 when they signed him. How would you like to go up against 6'9", 250? Stanley Cup winner as the captain in 2011. All-Star 6 times. First team All-NHL 3 times. Second team 4 times. Hardest shot winner 5 times. Okay, won the Norris back in 2009. Hardest shot record, 108.8 miles an hour. The fake made-up Mark Messier Leadership Award. But how about this? Most games ever played by a defenseman. Chris Chelios played till he was 48, and Chara has more games played than him. The most shifts in NHL history. Oldest defenseman in NHL history to score a goal in the Stanley Cup final. 42 years old, and he was scoring in the 2019 Stanley Cup final. And also the oldest to score a game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Career plus minus of 301, 680 points for the kid, 200 goals. This is for a guy who was seen as a freak show, as a sideshow attraction. And still, 200 goals, 1,680 games. He's got the NHL record in time on ice, shifts, shorthanded time on ice per game, playoffs time on ice, and playoff shifts. A 6'9", 250 guy who could do 40 straight pull-ups, who runs ultra marathons, who ran 2 marathons in the same week in his late 40s. That's the kind of guy we're talking about here. You want to talk about leadership? You want to talk about example? You want to talk about changing a culture? No one quite like Zdeno Chara has done that in NHL history. And to top it all off, I got to show this video. Zach's going to love this video. But this is actually before his time with the Bruins. This is when he was an Ottawa Senator. But it's an absolute classic. And it just goes to show like how intimidating it would have been to go against this guy. This was Brian McCabe, who was a pretty big guy himself, kind of a heavyweight himself for Toronto, going up against Zdeno Chara in the early 2000s. And it was few and far between for people messing with Zdeno Chara after this.
As McCabe and Chara fence, and the gloves come off.
Artie wants out.
Advantage is the wrestling training in the center.
I mean, come on, dude. Look at, he fucking ragdolls him. Like he's just throwing him around. It's an NHL heavyweight right there. I can't wait for this ceremony, man. It's going to be full of schmaltz. It's going to be too long. They're asking us to get in at 6:10. The puck doesn't drop till 8. But Zdeno Chara deserves all of this. And they'll probably have the cup. They'll have the 2011 banner. They'll have all kinds of Bruins legends. Started last night. I hope Tim Thomas is out there, but I might cry. I might get a little emotional, but this is the first of many to be honored from this era. And too much during this great era for the Bruins, we were talking about how they only won one. They only won one Stanley Cup. And that sucks. You know, they lost 2 more times in the final with Chara and Bergeron, and Krejci and Marchand. But this era deserves its flowers as truly one of the greats in Bruins history. That decade, basically, from 2009 to 2019. They were in it pretty much every year. They made 3 Stanley Cup finals. They won 1. And Zdeno Chara was the orchestrator of all of that. He was the maestro. And I think, as you saw in the years after he left, he's one of the great leaders in NHL history as well. What's your favorite Zdeno Chara memory? Let me know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you live on YouTube every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then we're available wherever you get your podcasts as well. It's your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio right here on the Wicked Boston Show. So thank you to Zach Burke. Thank you big time to Dakota and Braintree for doing that great segment with us. And thank you to you guys for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow on a real Friday on the Wicked Boston Show.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.